Alright, so Blaine and Alex of Accused, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you today?
Very good. We're happy to be on 69 Faces of Rock. Yesterday we were on 68 Faces of Rock.
That's right. Can you imagine what face you're going to be on tomorrow?
I'll have to think about that one for a second.
So, tell me about this version of Accused.
Well, it's kind of a tribute. It's not really a
We like to consider ourselves as a tribute band. Okay. Our real band is actually called Toe Tag, and Alex was the bass player for the Accused. And when we stopped playing with the Accused, we started our band Toe Tag, and then people kept wanting us to play the Accused songs. So we started a tribute band called Martha's Revenge
to accommodate the people that wanted to hear that shit.
Yeah, because they wanted to hear us play those songs.
Yes,
and then people kept wanting us to play those songs, and then like 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was actually on April Fool's Day, let's call ourselves the Accused AD, and we learned the More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral record, which just happened at that point in time. It was like the
25th anniversary.
Yeah, 25th or 30th anniversary, and then some other band covered an Accused song, and it ended up being The Steal, so here we are.
I was actually going to ask you, is there a specific period of Accused that you are targeting with this?
We've gone back and forth. We've covered pretty much a lot of different stuff. Yeah, now we're working on the first EP.
Yeah, today we're doing a Return to Martha Splatterhead LP, because we were asked to do it for a festival in Seattle. So, but yeah, otherwise we just play a whole...
As you are playing these old songs, are you discovering anything new about them after so many years?
When do you say that?
Some of the recording quality wasn't that good.
It's seminal though. It's still really effective for what it is. You kind of feel, you can kind of tell some of it. You can see what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
What about?
It's kind of a weird sound.
What about the music itself, not just the recording quality?
I think that we, as a band right now, we rehearse a lot more than the Accused ever did to begin with. Even though at some points in time the Accused did rehearse a lot, but we rehearse a lot. So I think we're kind of back to the point where, I mean, maybe some of these songs I didn't used to like to play, but I kind of they're funner to play now, because we've kind of, we're not trying to copy the way they were played on the record. We're kind of playing them the way that we would play as musicians 30, 35 years later.
And why did Accused initially break up?
Initially, there's probably a couple inceptions and deceptions happening within that, so it's kind of hard to say. The first one was when we first split was, that was in the 90s.
We first split
and then we got a different guitar player and did a couple European tours, and then we stopped.
That was because Tom wanted to go do Grunt Truck.
Tom wanted to do Grunt Truck.
He wanted to do Grunt Truck, and
I later joined him after we weren't doing anything. And then we got back together with Tom. Except that was the first time.
96.
Yeah.
96, 97.
And that went for a little while, then we stopped doing that. And then, what did we do after that? Then we did the farts?
You were doing Hot Rod Lunatics.
Hot Rod Lunatics, and then we did the farts for a while, and then they both kind of crapped out, and then there was interest for us to do it again, and we got back to Niemeyer, got back with Niemeyer subsequently for a third time, and that just wasn't the best of times. We needed to part ways.
Yeah.
So that we left, and we just started another band. He simply was left, and I grabbed it because I was playing guitar in a couple other bands, and I played guitar with the same dudes. We just were doing other stuff. We completely wrote all new music, totally other shit.
Since returning as a live band, what reactions are you getting?
It depends on where we're playing and who we get to play with. Unfortunately, at home we get to kind of play with these, kind of like older guys that do kind of the different kind of music that we do. When we're lucky enough to play with younger bands, we get a good reception. But the whole landscape of music has changed now. It's nothing like it used to be. We've had a chance. We've done some really big shows, and back in the day, if you were played a big show like that, would be a stepping stone to
something else.
And now it's just you play a big show, and
you're lucky you get it.
Yeah.
Get on a good bill, and yay. But some of the kids that have never heard it before, it's kind of this. It's a totally. I mean, it's a very different.
Our delivery.
Old school. It's totally old school. but it still works. It's kind of a, you know, that
like
shit,
like
that shit's
tonight.
universal.
Tonight, our delivery is going to be completely different than any other band that's playing.
Yeah, it would
at,
be-
at the show tonight.
It's not that we're going to be dancing around and have
Yeah.
theatrics, but it's like it's a whole. It's almost new school, old school type thing, and
Yeah.
this shit's kind of old school.
Will there be any new music coming out of this version of the band?
We put a record out called The Ghoul in the Mirror a couple of years ago. I don't know. The last we record like every year, 16 months. We did put out some new toe tag songs late last year. You know.
But will there be anything as Accused AD?
I don't know. That's kind of
That's the tricky question.
yeah. And the thing is, it's all the same.
Right, yeah,
The tuning is different.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's different.
Yeah, even
But,
with the record that we did release as the Accused AD, it's like we're not trying to emulate a sound or anything. We're just doing.
No, if you were to put that against any of the other Accused records, you wouldn't be. This wouldn't be in succession with any of them necessarily. You might hear some similarities from a lot of that shit coming out of the same well, but it's not intended to be by any means to be. You know, but at the same time, it's like if we would have stayed together all through the 80s and 90s and 2000s till now, it wouldn't be that same. It wouldn't be that same shit. It'd be different. We'd be playing different shit. It would change. Because I mean, it did as it was, so it stopped. You know, everything up till Straight Razor, or Martha's Revenge. We did that later, or Martha Will was the last one we did call. Oh Martha. There's a lot of Martha, getting confused sometimes.
And speaking of the older records, they're kind of difficult to find. Are you in charge of your catalog, or how does that work?
There was some. Most of them have been re-released on Unrest Records in Canada. That's kind of stuff that Tom does. We don't really fiddle around with any of that.
We don't actively pursue that and hold that under our wing as a money-making thing.
Yeah. They were Sony Records that owns the rights to all that material. They were going to re-release The Return of Martha Splattering Head, and because they're doing some classic heritage series, but I don't know, that got postponed.
And also, in the old days, how would you even describe a band like Accused? I mean, you totally stood apart from whatever else that was going on at that time. So,
I don't think we weren't really part of to be described. We're just doing our own thing, kind of like with what we do right now. The new music is just kind of like we're not. Some bands I think try too hard to fit in. Everything is so genre specific now that people are writing stuff that's like. That's why you have guys that have they're in 4 or 5 bands because they can have this band where they do this kind of stuff and then this band where they do this kind of stuff instead of being in one band where they get to play everything that they like to play.
So I think the question that makes sense is, what influences did you have to drive you to do what you did?
God, there's a lot of good stuff back then.
Yeah.
Some of that initial wave of underground metal stuff. Punk rock. It rains a lot in Seattle, so you spend a lot of time indoors. So you end up.
I noticed that.
I tell you what, you're better off with a guitar in your hands than a video game controller, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. Hard to say. I mean, back then, Black Flag, the Germs, and then you hear Motorhead, and you hear
Tank,
Iron Maiden, and Tank, and Girl School, and that
Merciful Fate, and
Merciful
Sabotage,
Fate,
and some of that good stuff.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah. How much touring did Accused do back in the old days, back in the 80s?
We only did really a couple of full U.S. tours. We did 4 European tours. We did more West Coast stuff than we did touring. I don't know that we were necessarily ready to make such a commitment. I think we were committed to the music, but we weren't committed to the music to be on the road 300 days a year.
One year we toured almost half of a year, but when we'd go out and do the U.S. tours, that's a U.S. and Canada, that's a three and change month way out. You might have an apartment when you come back, and you might have a girlfriend when you come back, and you might still have a dog and a car and a parking space and all kinds of fucking stuff. So, and it wasn't necessarily for a lot of money either. It was just simply to do it.
As you're touring right now, are you noticing that there's a big legacy that the band left behind from the past?
Most definitely.
What signs of it do you see?
I have a lot of baby mamas.
That's on the film now.
Stupid. I ain't got no baby mamas.
Some of the bands that look to what we did in the past as an influence, like from from Arch Enemy to Municipal Waste.
They were younger than us, and they heard that shit, and they liked it, and it inspired to hopefully inspired them.
Yeah.
And so, that's how we've got some of these really good shows. Is these other bands liked us when they were kids. They liked us when they were a little younger, and
now they're much popular than we ever were.
Way more popular.
Yeah.
Than
Isn't that the case?
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. I think that's the most endearing part of it is, and we kind of have friendships with some of these guys because, we've been, in touch with, communicating, being able to interact with them over the years. And it's...
They'll come through town on good tours and throw us shows, that we wouldn't normally get by any means at all. And that's great. That's pretty cool.
Finally, what were some of your personal highlights from being in this band?
Touring the world. Well, we didn't do the whole world, but the U.S. and Canada. It's awesome.
U.S., Canada, Europe. And the world was so much smaller back then. It's not like it is now. And it's hard to quantify or say, but the world was much different back then.
The isolation level, everything wasn't so hyper connected like shit is now. I can pick up my phone and call my old lady in Seattle. Now what used to call you, that cost you so much. Besides, you didn't have a cell phone. You go to a phone booth, that's a $20, $30, $40 phone call on a fucking landline.
And all the stuff back then,
video.
Like if you look at clubs that are have so much notoriety, like the Outhouse in Kansas. I mean, who's going to think that this little cinder block
we thought we were at the wrong place
in the middle of a cornfield, was just going to be the magnet for, every band imaginable, or City Gardens in New Jersey. It's just there's just these little pockets that were all over the United States.
But it was the right spot for everybody to go through, and that's how you think of it at the time, but like you said, these little innocuous places end up being just...
And it's the same when we were playing Europe. You get to these, because they're not even cities or towns, they're villages. And there's a bar there, and then you're going to play, and it's...
very small. It was very small back then.
Yeah. But you still get a bunch of people, and it's...
Make party.
The Europe thing, because I've been to Europe since then, and it's totally different now than it used to be. And it'll never... People that travel, because everything, if you want to travel, even for us around here, it's you get on your phone, how do we walk?
Where do you want to go?
You just put on, hey, we'll walk 6 blocks and take a right. Because we walked here to find out where this club was yesterday, and then this morning we walked to the club where Voivod is playing tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
We're going to play later. I'd like to get something else to eat. We're playing tomorrow.
We're doing eight shows on this run, and then we're doing some other stuff.
Psycho Fest.
Yeah, well, then we got asked to play Psycho Vegas. So we're pretty excited because we're playing the same day that Merciful Fate's playing. So, which is perfect, because originally we were supposed to play Friday, and then the guy said, well, I hope it's okay if, we move you to play Sunday. It's well, Sunday, that's when Merciful Fate's playing. Of course.
That's the day.
Yeah, that is the day, yeah.
Come to the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank
Excellent.
you.